Hi, I am Alex, and this is Kevin Kelly, and this is a tank-tested live stream. We'll see how well it works. So, I am visiting Kevin for Reefapalooza, and that means I needed a place to stay. I'm sleeping in his fish room, which is where we are right now. But I have kind of a cool gimmick set up for this video, which is we're going to do nice slow pans across some of his tanks. I've never done a live stream before, so it may be a disaster. So Kevin, you want to introduce yourself while I try to figure out what I'm doing here?
Okay, my name is Kevin Kelly. I'm a professional aquascaper. I own Brooklyn Hardscape, which started out originally as a competition group and has now morphed into an aquascaping installation company, and now it is now morphing into something else, which is a store. You stay tuned. We're going to be opening our doors very, very soon. The purpose of my fish room or studio is because I'm opening a store, I want to test as many products as possible. I only want to sell products that I use. So this room is kind of dedicated to trying out different aqua soils, different filters, fertilizers, you name it, whatever I want to sell.
Yeah, so I will say there are a couple of people watching. How is the audio in this situation? I can't fix it, but I want to know whether or not it's a disaster. All right. You ready to flip around the camera and see if we can see a fish tank?
Sure. Hey, Scott. How you doing?
All right, let's do this. This is going to be pretty exciting.
Do you want to just leave me with questions?
All right. Do you guys see an aquarium? Hopefully you do. All right. So I have put this phone on my slider, which I use to shoot most of my videos. That way we can do a nice slow reveal across the tank and get some nice shots and let you guys really enjoy this tank. You're gonna hear some clicking. That's me messing with my slider. There you go, it's calibrated. Now, if you guys will join me in a very slow adventure across this tank. If you see anything that you have any questions about, feel free to talk. And if not, Kevin, you want to just start a very slow tour. Come back around here so you can actually see what we're looking at.
Okay. So where are we at now? Oh, this tank is, this was the first tank in the studio. This is Tropica 100%. I designed this tank to try to get some of my favorite Tropica plants all in one space. It's designed also for social media so that each section can be used throughout social media. So if you look at it, it's done in thirds. It's basically like each section is supposed to be like a little mini scape inside of a larger scape.
Yeah. Here's a question for you, since it was just asked. How big is this tank? What are we looking at right now?
Right now we're looking at a UNS 90L. It's 30 centimeters by 30 centimeters by 90 centimeters, or for those that are American, it's 1 foot by 1 foot by 3 feet. It's 21 gallons. Low iron glass, edges cut at a 45-degree angle, so it's very nice, looks very clean. I'm a big fan of the UNS tanks. And I used to have, up until 2 weeks ago, I had a dual T5 on here, but I've just switched to the Twin Star S model. I'm loving it a lot. I still own a T5 man. Like the Wally Chi was very, very orange, like a fire orange, and now it's become more of a red.
So Lyle asked, are those Rasbora panicking in the background? What kind of fish do you have in here?
I only have a couple of fish in here, but they're Boreas maculatus, I think is how you say it. I always massacre the name. I'm probably going to be taking them out soon and replacing them with exclamation point microspores, which I actually like a lot more.
Why are you switching them out?
I have more.
Okay.
And they're in my IEPLC tank, which I'm breaking down on Monday. So.
Right. You guys won't see that tank, but it's just off screen.
Yeah, and it just got pillaged by plants. You have to excuse the conditions of the tanks. There is a convention this weekend. I let things grow out so I can pull plants out as I need them for any kind of emergencies. Like today, there's a couple. These tanks will be pillaged even further.
Yeah, I plan on taking a couple stems home with me for everything. So looking at this hardscape, what is the hardscape that we're looking at here?
Oh,
nice river stones.
Just river stones. The big stones that make up the mound, actually Christian pulled out of the Allegheny River for me, I believe, the Allegheny River. And the rest are just dark stones that I've collected that are aquarium safe.
Cool. And then you're also using a type of wood?
I'm using what I thought was manzanita, but I'm not sure what it is. It's actually kind of problematic for me. It's a softer wood. I thought it was like the harder wood that is manzanita. But in reality, I don't know what it is. It's very, very soft. And it's actually lost, I'd say, 10% of its mass since I set up this tank.
Yeah, so you just saw Kevin, I'm going to call him Kelly now. Kevin Kelly's little pointer stick that he'll use to point out any of the plants that you guys want to talk about. So let's start with, you've now seen about 2/3 of this tank. It's a nice long tank, and every section of it has a nice little look to it. So let's start by talking about some of the plants that we see on screen here. There are two really beautiful red plants on screen.
Oh, sure. So this is...
Yeah, I'll call him Kiki. That'll be great.
This is Tropica's AR Mini. These two. A little BBA on there because, again, the wood is not hard, so I'm constantly battling a high organics. And then this is the Rotella Walichi, which is one of my all-time favorites. It is a very versatile. Get it under certain light and it just stays green. Under the Twin Star, it's turning red. Under the Geisman T5s, they were orange, super orange, like very unbelievably orange. And then we have Pakistani Halafi or Dunwine.
I'm so glad that you're the one that has to pronounce all of this stuff because I am not good at pronouncing anything.
I'm not very good at it. I'm struggling here. And then this is the Elicaris Mini, Tom Barr's dwarf hairgrass.
Mm-hmm.
But these are all Tropica plants. All these are from Tropica tissue culture, which is one of the reasons why after all these months it's still not completely grown in, is because getting the tissue culture to grow and survive the mailing has been a real problem.
Yeah. So here's a question. You mentioned algae.
Yeah.
So with your really fine-leafed plants here, how do you combat things like hair algae growing in there?
I'd say once a day I just simply go like this. Try to get all the detritus out. As you can see, like a lot of stuff is getting pushed out as I move it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a big fan of overfiltration. Up until last week, I had, even though it's a 21-gallon tank, I had an Eheim 2217 on here. So there's a lot of flow, but even though there's a lot of flow, you still gotta get in here with the fine leaves and just move them around a little bit, shake them up, make them dance. Try not to do it too much in case it's fry.
Right. And that helps with hair algae?
It helps with everything. It drops down the organics, so you don't have a problem.
Interesting.
Especially being this is high CO2, high light. Lights are on about 8 hours a day right now.
Yeah, I'm intimately familiar with that. They turn on around, what, 8 p.m.?
6 o'clock?
Yes, whatever time it was. They did not go off until, I'm going to say 2:30 last night.
That one, I forgot to put the timer back on. I noticed it was on at 4.
I can confirm that I sent out messages to friends last night at about 2 a.m. of photos of where I was sleeping saying, I don't think I'll ever fall asleep. Is this heaven or is this hell?
I'm sorry. Yeah, 2 o'clock I think is when they go off.
Yeah, it was fine. I was up. I was having a grand old time. But these lights were right there with me.
Yeah.
All right. So Gabriel asked a pretty good question. A question that I probably should have asked up front. What are you using to fertilize this whole tank, and are you using a specific type of substrate to help out?
Because this is a Tropica only tank, this is Tropica's fertilizers. I'm using the.
Yeah, I'm going to bring them over here so these a little bit closer to our camera so that your audio is a little bit better. Cool. All right, so that is the fertilizer that you're using.
Can you see it? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I'm using at this point now I'm using the Tropica root tabs. It's Tropica's aqua soil. Originally it was a layer of the normal Tropica with the powder on top, but the amount of shrimp have worked everything so that it's not there anymore. The powder's buried.
Right. So Jake asked me, how long has this tank been up and running?
It's been running since November. I've had a lot of problems. This has been called the Murphy's Law tank. Let's see, from the beginning, I had to get 2 full orders from distributor for the Tropica tissue cultures, and I had all told 108 tissue cultures that I put in here, and I would say maybe 15 survived. It's insane.
That's insane.
Such the
tissue cultures aren't cheap.
They're not cheap. Tropica actually sent me the first round for free to do this tank, but I don't like to handouts, so I paid for the rest. But you know, the distributor for Tropica, for instance, I got my first shipment finally got this tank rolling in I guess January, February, and the first shipment came in from the distributor, and they shipped to Brooklyn with no installation.
Wow.
So all my tissue cultures were frozen.
Fun.
There's an unboxing video on my YouTube. You can see my face.
That sounds terrible.
And then I just consistently, everybody I ordered from over and over again. It's been a problem.
Well, for folks that are just joining us, Joel included, thank you for stopping by. What we're doing right now is I've got my phone set up on my slider, and we're just doing nice slow pans across Kevin Kelly's tanks. And Kevin Kelly runs a YouTube channel here called Brooklyn Hardscape.
Yes.
That I guess is just the outward-facing arm of the organization that you're trying to get up and running. This is one of his tanks. Is it a 90p?
90L?
90L. Yeah, why do I need to know information? That's cool. I'm only running this whole thing. So we've been talking about this tank. What's cool about this tank is that it's actually designed to be viewed at from both sides. So after I think one more pan across, I'll move this camera to the other side of the tank so you guys can see everything from a different angle. So one of the questions that I missed a little bit earlier on was, what is your favorite type of fish and what is your favorite type of nano fish? Kevin, I'll let you go first and then I'll answer that question as well.
I'm pretty much a nano fish only kind of guy. Explanation point restorers are my favorite just because they're such a versatile fish under light. Playing with different kinds of light and the way their body is probably the most fun I have. Under a halide, my 150 watt, 67K halide, for instance, they have like a blue-red color. Mm-hmm. Put them under my the T5 that I had. It's a Geisman Tropic and Geisman Floribold, and they almost are purple-red. And then under the Twin Star S model, they turn red, like a fire engine red. The fact that they have very like little blues, little blacks. It's for me, even though it's only a fish that's half an inch long, it's one of those beautiful.
Cool. For me, I think I really love white clouds. Yeah? I think they're just a magical little fish. I've got a 12-gallon Mr. Aqua set up, which, I don't know, maybe you guys will see at some point. Maybe not. We'll see. And I have my filter running crazy overfiltration on that tank, and it is pumping water from one side of the tank to the other, and it's just such a joy to watch them dance in the current. So I think they're probably my favorite fish. In terms of a non-nano fish, I have a few rainbows in one of my tanks that I don't know what kind of rainbow it is. I've been looking at it once in a while. I think I know what it is, and then I doubt myself. So at some point, maybe I'll show it to you guys, and you can embarrass me by telling me everyone knows what that fish is. You're an idiot, and that's okay. I bought it. They're like 7 or 8-year-old fish, so they are at the very end of their little rainbow lives. But they are some of my favorite little friends in my house. All right, so I'm gonna flip around the camera. You want to take a seat because we've been talking for about 15 minutes, and maybe we should confirm that we actually do have faces. No, you're just gonna stand. It's just gonna be your stomach. That's cool. Any second now. All right, it's not gonna happen. There we go. I did it. Hi, guys. So, what kind of shrimp do you like is a question that I keep getting several times.
Shrimp. Again, I'm all about versatility and usefulness. Malibu shrimp are fun. I spent about.
Can you explain what they are?
Malibu shrimp are from Sulawesi, but they're one of the hardiest shrimp you could possibly get. I believe that they're in the Cardinia family, but they won't mate with any other fish or shrimp.
Yeah, I don't think they mate with any other fish.
But they're great. They're normally clear or white. A lot of people think they're boring. I tried to for about 5 years to try to breed the blue out of them. I was completely unsuccessful. But they basically can control their color with what you feed them in their environment. Yeah. So even though they're like clear in that tank,
There's another tank over there.
There's also another tank over there, and sometimes they pop out with tiger stripes and they're red.
Cool. For me, gosh, I don't keep a whole lot of shrimp. Neocardinia, which I'm sure that's not how you pronounce it. It's a Latin name. Why would I pronounce it right? Our friend Gazanfar has a lovely line of blue shrimp that are just magical, and they're incredibly stable. Their color is really true. They're a really cool little shrimp, and I've got a couple in 2 of my different tanks at home. All right, are you guys ready to see the other side of this tank? You can say yes or no, I'm doing it. So, I don't know why I asked. Bear with me. Oh, look. Hi. Everything's fine. Now it's upside down. Now it's right side up. Okay, well, that was a fun roller coaster. Here's the other side of this tank. We're gonna just process across it, and you guys will see a couple new fun surprises, I think. All right, so people are asking again, what is the lighting in this tank? I'm sure we talked about it, but I don't think we spent a lot of time on it.
It's a Twin Star Model S.
Okay. You want to give me a little more information about it? We've got time to fill. This is a slow pan. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit.
You know what? I don't know the specs of the light off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I'm a little tired.
That's fair.
But it's a great. It's in
Bear with me, guys.
It's in the RGB methodology of lighting. That's very popular right now. I would like to add, this is also the more complete side. This tank has been kind of an evolving process, but like for instance, I brought back the dwarf hair grass I brought back. Eurus gave me to do a video with, and I had baby dwarf tears on one side. I pulled the baby dwarf tears and replaced them with the hair grass. But this is definitely the more grown out end.
So we put a couple of different lights on this last night, actually, and the plants look totally different. I don't want to talk about what those specific lights were because I don't want to disparage them. But the tank did not look quite as cool. No. Can you explain a little bit in terms of the lighting to get the reds of your plants to pop? Note what we're looking at right now.
Okay. Oh, this is the Hygrolancia. It's one of my favorite plants. I love it. It's again very versatile. Low light, it grows horizontal or vertical, and in super high light like this, it grows. It's a carpeting plant. My favorite mixture with this plant, believe it or not, is Utricula gramifolia. I think this is like a great pairing to Utricula gramifolia. If you ever want to do escape with just 2 plants, that's like, this is it.
Can you describe that plant for people?
Utricula gramifolia is a carnivorous grass. It looks like grass with the thick frond grass. Super, super green.
Cool. Yeah. Did I let you finish talking about the red of the plants, or did I just completely pivot? Yeah. Let's talk about how you get the red to pop, because obviously some lights don't do it, even though the plant is the exact same plant.
Right.
So how do you get your reds to pop as much as possible without having your tank look all kinds of funky colors?
Well, the most important part is to remember how light works. And if a light isn't producing the color, then you won't see the color. Which is like a big... Do we need to throw a towel over it?
Yeah, keep talking. I'll deal with this.
So, of course, the most important parts about getting red from plants is nutrients and having enough light that'll cause it to turn red and have the anthocyanins activate.
Can you explain what anthocyanins are?
They're the chemical in a plant. Basically, it's like getting a sunburn. If it gets so much light, it causes it to go red. Some plants just are red naturally. Some plants you can make get redder with bright light. The second part of that, of course, is if the light is not producing the reds that you want to see, then it's not going to reflect off the leaves and your eye's not going to read it as red.
Right.
So as we saw the light that we tested last night, it doesn't have a high red output, so you're not seeing it, so the plants appear dull brown.
Yeah, I wish that we could actually show you what that looks like.
We have the light here still.
We do, but that feels like a whole thing.
Yeah, it is.
We should have prepared for that.
It's a really good light, though. That light is really good. It'd be good with just green-only plants.
Yeah. All right, so can you explain to us how you went about setting up a 360 tank? Because that is an incredibly challenging thing to do. With a 360 tank, you can't do that. So how do you solve that problem?
Well, this tank is designed to be a sales tank. That's the most important part. I did want to highlight all the different species of plants that are my favorites that come from Tropica. And to do that, I divided into thirds. And basically, like, this is what I want to do. I want to have a scape that looks like this. So even different size, as you're looking, are very, very different. It's like looking at two different tanks. At least that's what I hope.
It is. I mean, you can tell that they're the other sides of the tanks, but they have a totally different feel to them.
Yeah. So basically what I did was I just did 6 drawings of like what I kind of wanted to do, and I saw what fit them, and then I went out and I found the Hardscape to fit the drawings.
Awesome. And this tank is how deep?
It's only 12 inches deep,
yeah,
30
so
centimeters.
You guys are looking at a tank that appears to have quite a bit of depth, I think, but that center rock is only maybe 3 or 4 inches from the glass on either side.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
It's a very close little.
And you were talking about last night how you don't like that.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't want to talk about what I don't like. All of that can be a mystery to my viewers. It'll be fine.
I think it looks good. I think it looks good.
So Jade asked, what kind of light is best for growing different levels of plants? And that is a question that you can answer better than I can, because my way of growing plants is I want everything to grow slowly, and I want everything to grow in a controlled way. You go high tech, high light, and fast growth. So you know better how to make things grow quickly and successfully than I would.
I think I'm almost super tech, I think, would be the best way to explain it.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the tanks we're looking at, it's only 4 weeks old, and it's already needs to be cut in half. It's overgrown.
Yeah, you can actually see just the edge of that tank right over there. We'll go to that in a minute. I've got one more tank that I want to show you on this side before we hop over to that crazy overgrown tank that you're just getting a little tease of. So bear with us about 10 minutes and we'll go and check that out.
So if you want to grow things fast, really fast, and I would say always 100% go with T5s. T5s are the closest spectrum you're going to get to the output of the sun. They're beautiful. The light output is, I mean, the problem with an LED is that you're dealing with one diode of color, and you're hoping that it's a good choice, the diodes next to each other, they mix as the light projects. With a T5, you have the full color spectrum, you have even spectrums you can't see, and you know, it's just a more beautiful light. Plants grow 5 times faster. I mean, nothing grows faster than under a T5 light.
How do you deal with different levels of light? Because obviously there's a huge brushing the surface of the water, and then you've got carpeting plant down at the bottom. How are you making sure that they're both getting enough light and you're not having a crazy algae bloom on the top of your
well, the first thing is that all my tanks right now are crazy overgrown. They're in disrepair. I've been traveling. I've been to 3 countries in 3 weeks, so it's been a bit of traveling going on. But normally, like, my Walichi is about 3 inches shorter than it is now, 3 or 4 inches.
Yeah.
So you have high flow, good dispersion of light.
I kind of like it blocking the view across the tank. It gives a level of.
Well, normally it goes. I normally keep it at a 45-degree angle, starting right there. So like all of this is like trimmed, but like a lot of this stays there.
You're talking about that plant. The Green Rainbow asked, what is that red plant in the background? And I suspect he's referring to it. So can you give a little bit of info about it?
We'll talk about Walichi all day. This is Rotella Walichi. It's one of my favorites. It's a beautiful plant. Very versatile.
No, you've unrooted something. You've combed too hard.
No, that's okay. We'll just throw this in another tank.
Maybe I'll take that home with me. So is that a plant that you've got to have high CO2 to grow?
Believe it or not, I have thrown it in a CO2-less tank and forgotten about it. And it gets very green, but it grows. It'll grow just really slow.
Yeah.
So you can try it.
Okay, but it'll turn green under lesser conditions. Yeah, so you won't get that bright red unless you really pump the CO2 and provide it with enough light that it it feels comfortable.
It's a nutrient hog.
Right.
I can actually see that when I trim it really low, before it starts popping back to go back, I can see like the drop in heat of nutrients.
Right.
But once it's full, once it's grown out like this, I can't feed it enough.
Cool. All right. So I think I'm going to move on to another tank. We'll talk about a tank in just a second. We're going to try to not have a crazy transition this time. I'm literally just going to rotate the tripod. So
this is actually my favorite.
Give me
side.
just a second. I agree. I think the side that we're looking at is the prettier side.
Yeah. The ripens, the styrogen ripens are really nice.
All right. This little guy.
That's my oldest, most neglected tank.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool tank. We're not going to do any sweet slides over it because it's a tiny little tank. It's what, a foot cube?
Yeah. It's a 7-gallon cube.
So what is in there?
Just one Nano shrimp and baby dwarf tears, and then a mystery wort. That one to see would grow underwater or not.
And has it grown underwater? How long has it been?
I don't know, maybe a week. I got some algae. I have to apologize, guys. I really wasn't expecting to do this, and I haven't had time to make things look nice. But I guess this is what it's good to see. Like,
yeah, I've bullied Kevin into doing this, and I will say again, Kevin has a YouTube channel. It's called Brooklyn Hardscape. If you're just tuning in, Kevin makes great content. He provides a lot of information. You should go follow him so that he can
not as much
inform you.
As you provided last night. Jesus, stole the show.
Well, Kevin, Kevin actually knows things about aquariums. I pretend. We don't need to know that. I'll cut that out. That's fine. So
the story for this tank is I wanted to do I guess a social experiment, and this was actually a crowdsourced scape. I did a live scape, and I let the suggestions as I was scaping it like lead where I was going.
Gotcha.
The wood wasn't in there then. It was just, there's a lot of cedar stone in here. It makes a little valley scape that ends in a cul-de-sac. I also haven't trimmed this in a couple weeks, so I would say that the baby dwarf tears are what, 2 inches, 3 inches deep, 3 inches. So this
yeah,
is
they're enough that when you get around to trimming them, you're going to get a lot of little yellow patches.
And that just keeps going and going and going. There we go. That's the soil.
Yeah. So you want to do that? Can you stick your hand in the tank? You willing to do that? Stick the little peg back in there, and let's mark it on your prong so people can see exactly how deep we're talking. All right, so that's how deep you have to go before you hit something solid. That's inches and inches. That's maybe 4 inches. It's crazy.
Maybe 4 inches. Yeah, I'm looking at the side. There's a deep slope, so I don't think it's even attached to anything anymore. I think it's just free floating, hanging out there.
I did a similar scape to this in a half-gallon tank.
Okay.
Because I figured dwarf baby tears were the only thing that I could grow in there that would still provide some scale, and it like did wonderfully without any CO2, without anything, because I was pumping enough light into it and there was no competition.
Just using CAM photosynthesis.
Yeah, and it took about 6 months to grow in, and it looked great. So.
I like the scape a lot also because it's, even though it's high tech, it's low maintenance. This is also tropical plants, believe it or not. So, but yeah, only one Nano shrimp in here. That's the only resident.
Yeah, and you are still pumping CO2 in there, and you've got, what light do you have on this one?
This is the ADA Aquascape moon.
Okay. And
which was a gift when I was working in Germany with Oliver Knott.
Nice, nice. I can't do any fancy pans across this tank, so I'm going to move on to something that I can show a little bit more fully. Why don't we go over to your hacked down tank? Are you okay with that, or do you want me to go over to the overgrown tank?
That's my hospital tank.
All right, so he's explained away that this is his hospital tank, so bear with him. There you go. I don't think that looks too shabby at all. Let's do a lovely, you guys are ready for a roller coaster? Here we go. Lovely. All right. So let's talk about what is in this tank. What do we got?
Well, I'm growing out plants right now that, let's see, this is the Hygrocephalium. It's a newer plant. I always get the name mixed up. It's a great large leaf carpeting plant, but obviously I've got so much in now. It's growing vertical. Pantanel. This is AR Mini Lila. This is Langno Mini Vietnam.
They're not quite in that shot yet. So let's focus on this, the left side of the tank.
Oh, okay. So I got some Rotella Hurrah coming out. Some Golden Nicia that I left in my pocket for a couple hours.
Yeah, it looks a little sad.
Yeah, it's a little sad. It's coming back. This is some butterfly, Rotella butterfly that I'm recouping. More. This is interesting actually. This guy is a hybrid that I made.
Explain.
I've been screwing around with I let things grow immersed and I wait for them to flower, and I've been. So this is, I forget what this, the thing is I can't remember what I made it from because I was screwing around so much they all got mixed up. So yeah, this is actually a Rotella from seed that I don't know what it is. I got a couple in here that are growing. It could end up being something else. It could be nothing. I don't know.
Lyle says that this tank is gorgeous. Jade said that your past little cube tank was wonderful. So
Yeah, but see, like, it's not doing well. That's why it's a hospital tank. Like, some plants are just rotting because I just can't save them. This way I might survive. It's got a little sprout.
yeah. So got a question for you. I will answer it first before you answer it.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on Monte Carlo? Just watched a video about it being hard to clean without completely removing the plant.
What?
Yeah. Let me answer. Don't respond that way. So I love Monte Carlo. I love it because it is, in my opinion, the easiest of the small carpeting plants. I think it's easier than dwarf hairgrass. I think it's easier than dwarf baby tears.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
It's nice and small, unlike Marseille hirsuta, which is a little bit bulky.
See, that's why I don't want the Cornita is so much nicer.
I'm going to ignore that. Here's my answer to your question. Monte Carlo is a really easy plant to grow once you figure out what conditions it needs to grow in.
I mean, just water.
Yeah, but who knows? Maybe they have a pH of 8 and they've got who knows? There are lots of you have a pH of 8. My pH is 6 and it's lovely.
Yeah.
Anyway, point is, it's a relatively easy plant to grow. Once it fully carpets in, it's not a pain at all to maintain. I very occasionally will trim my Monte Carlo, and oftentimes I'll wait too long and I'll end up being able to trim it back so that I've got a little bit of yellowing showing, and that's just a sign that there's a half inch or an inch of leaf growth above that point. It's not a big deal. It'll regrow, it'll grow in green, it's fine. I would say maybe after a year or two, you might consider rescaping, but you're going to want to rescape within a year or two anyway. And Monte Carlo is not going to be your limiting factor there. The soil is going to be your limiting factor on that. I love it. It's my favorite carpeting plant. I was just talking to Kevin about that earlier. So don't be dissuaded from it. In terms of actually cleaning it, Monte Carlo has a decent root structure, I would say. If you use a soft siphon, not too strong a siphon, you can easily siphon out debris that's fallen in there without ripping up the whole plant.
I like to hit it with a turkey baster.
Yeah, that's another great suggestion. If you hit it with a turkey baster, you can get all the debris out without running into any major problems. And then you could just siphon that water out, that dirty, mucky water out. I wouldn't worry about it.
Turkey baster hooked up to a canister filter. Just recirculate the water and just clean the crap out of it.
Yeah. All right, so that took us down a nice little tangent. What is your stance on Monte Carlo? It sounds like
I think it's a great beginner plant. It's really hard to kill.
Yeah.
If you get it immersed growth, and then you throw it into a tank, no matter what condition, you have a good chance of killing it. But if it's already submersed,
yes, I will say that is the case. If you get immersed growth, you're always going to run into scary situations, and it's just there are lots of videos that can explain how to do it properly. We don't need to get into that here, but you're going to get some melt, and that's fine. It's different types of growth.
I'm just realizing I really got to change these bulbs.
Yeah, so on this tank, you do have T5s.
I do have T5s, but they're really old T5s. I think I probably should have replaced them a couple months ago. I just haven't gotten around to it. I'm actually going to talk to a new shop, Koyoga Aquatics, out in Ohio. He's a Geisman dealer, so I might be starting to get my stuff to him.
I'm going to interrupt you and say that Jen Williams insistently, quite a while ago, said that I should be referring to it as Tweety Eye, not Monte Carlo, because we should be referring to things by their scientific name, not their trade name.
Yeah, good luck trying to find it listed as that.
I agree. But Jen is trying to take it back. So it is Tweety Eye.
Yes, it is.
So, anything else cool in this tank?
Nothing.
There's nothing cool in this tank.
It's a hospital tank. It's just plants recovering from being abused.
It is. There's not a lot of scape to it, but it's kind of cool.
It started out as a Danish scape, and then I just started throwing in plants that were sick from clients or like from my own abuse. And that's just what it's been. It is going to get scapes soon, though. I have a plan for it. It's just, I have 2 tanks I have to scape first, and most of these plants are going into those 2 tanks.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It's all Calvin. I do it so he doesn't get angry. Yeah, that was Jen. I just read it out loud. Don't worry about it. Let's move on.
Yeah, Jen, see? Redheads ruining things again.
Yeah, people just ruining everything.
Just can't trust a redhead.
Okay, let's not take it to that place. I'm going to move us over to another tank.
I just scaped yesterday?
No, I mean we can.
No, we can't.
We're going to go over to the crazy overgrown tank. I will read anything you write, Jen. You just have that power over me.
Do you want to do this one your way, or you don't like that one?
I'm not a big fan of it. I don't know how to film it properly, but we'll stop by on our way out of this room.
I mean, we're going for a while now, anyway.
Yeah. So you're like, please let me stop talking. So this, if I can get wide enough to show it to you, which probably can't, this is a, what, 25 cube?
Yeah.
So can you explain what the dimensions are and how many gallons we're talking, or liters if you want to go?
Inches, yeah.
Yeah.
18 inches by 18 inches. This is actually probably one of the last GLA, green leaf aquarium tanks, probably floating around. It was a friend in a client's tank. He moved to Boulder and donated it to the cause. I don't make a lot of money, so I take what I can get. It's actually a really nice tank, low iron, solid. He took really good care of it. And what's going on here is I set this tank up May 9th, May 8th.
So for people watching, he set it up about 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
5 weeks ago, maybe.
5 weeks, yeah. So this is what it looks like when you have overgrown, because I'm probably going to be cutting it down to here tonight and taking most of this with me.
Right, because we are going to the Reefapalooza, and Kevin is donating a lot of his plants to other aquascapers in need.
Well, I guess that's a nice way of saying it. Yeah. Let's see. What do you want to know about this tank? Also, after this is all grown in, all of these are going to be removed. I'm going to put something else in here. This is too messy. Drives me nuts. But this is...
What are we looking at right here? This little guy.
This?
Not in the very back.
This.
The thing that's making the bubbles.
Oh, this.
Yeah, let's talk about
aerator. It's just an aerator.
Why does it look so fancy, Kevin?
Because I like fancy glass stuff.
I think it looks pretty fancy. I don't know if you guys can fully see it, but it is a cool little...
It's a bubble shield, so the water doesn't bubble everywhere and make a mess, and we go over the tank, and it's just... I've got checkered barbs in here, and even though they can take a lot of CO2, I didn't want to take a chance because they've been doing the breeding dance, and these are old fish too. They've been living in a low-tech tank for like 3-4 years. So I'm just trying to keep the abuse level down.
Nice. Anything else about this tank? What's the grass in the background? I recognize it because it's one of my favorite plants.
Well, as was quoted to me, it's a aquatic plant that is not yet available commercially in the hobby.
It's true. It is from my local club, which is GWAPA, the Greater Washington Aquatic Plant Association. I'm going to say that's what that stands for. That's probably what it stands for.
I think that's what it stands for.
And it was found by a man in our club named Sean Murphy. It is called Murphy grass. Jen has beaten me to the punch. She wrote Murphy grass. So yeah, she beat me to the punch. It's a great plant, and it grows just beautifully.
And it grows like a weed for me.
It grows like a weed for everyone. And you're not hitting it with a lovely current, but when you do hit it with a really beautiful current, you get all these beautiful undulations. I also don't have the current in my tank, but Gazafar, who is a friend of ours, does have current in his tank, and that tank just looks beautiful. It's not commercially available, but there are plants quite similar to it available. They just put out little, I guess, seed buds. I'm not actually sure what they're called.
Well, they do.
Yeah. This one does for you?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, this one does not. So it looks much cleaner and fancy.
Oh, you're talking about...
I'm talking about things that you can buy that are equivalent in the hobby. And that's why this grass is better.
The only thing I don't like about this grass is it is kind of a nutrient trap.
It's true, and you do have to do what Kevin is doing right now, which is kind of petting the grass. And
The whole leaf dies. It's not actually grass.
yeah. So Jen said, story, he found it in a ditch next to his daughter's school. Moral of the story, you never know what you'll find unless you look. Yeah, I think that's true. He literally found it in a school, like a commercial ditch, I believe. So kind of a cool, like, unexpected plant.
No, it's beautiful.
Local to where we're from. Who knows if it's actually local? I assume it probably is. It's not an invasive.
Nobody knows what it is. Nobody
but-
can figure it out, right?
Yeah, because without the buds, it's much harder to figure out what we're looking at. And they're not called buds, but that's okay. You've got pretty powerful CO2 pumping into your tanks. Can you explain a little bit about how you do CO2 maintenance and if for someone just starting out, how should they go about it so that they don't kill everything and they don't get intimidated?
There's no reason to start a tank that doesn't have CO2 and add CO2. So if this was a low-tech tank and you got fish living here, you don't just throw in CO2. That's rule number one. Until you get the CO2 figured out and you got a full tank grown in, you do not add CO2 ever. It's better to tear down the tank and start over.
Interesting. And why is that?
Because the chance of killing the wildlife in there is too high. It's really easy, especially if you don't know what you're doing, to gas a fish.
Right. Gassing a fish means that you're pumping CO2, which is poisonous to animals like us and fish. So you've got to be careful about that. That's why I always run my CO2, if I'm going to run CO2, on a really low level, which probably barely helps the plants, but lets me sleep at night and I think keeps the whole system a little bit more stable.
You do something very, very different from a lot of other people.
I do. I am a weird person. I don't grow my tanks like most people do. I grow very slowly. I rarely use CO2 on any of my tanks. If I do use CO2, the way I use it generally is to transition the tank from dry start. And that's when I pump CO2 and then I wean CO2 off that tank once I feel like the root systems are established and new growth has grown in, and then I don't let it get any CO2 and it grows nice and slow for months and months at a time with minimal maintenance. This crazy growth that you're seeing right here, that would take me, I'm gonna go with 6 months to get to that point.
That's from a half-rotten tissue culture glosso.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no CO2 on how plants are established, even if it's a healthy plant.
No CO2?
No CO2 until plants are established, even if it's heavily planted.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta get your CO2 under control and understand the CO2. The thing is that as the tank matures, more nutrients are required. The CO2 is part of that nutrient. So it's really important to get that balance and understand it over time, and the increase, you'll be able to increase it to a measure that's safe for your fish, or at least develop measures that, like using the air belt.
Yeah.
You know?
Can you explain where you got that air bell? Someone asked about that earlier.
I was in Porto, Portugal.
So you were fancy and overseas.
Teresa Neal and I had stopped there on our way home from Interzoo in Germany.
We're talking about this, by the way. Yeah, so you bought it from Portugal.
Yeah.
Is it something that's available in the United States?
I've never seen it for sale. I'm sure there are places that have it.
But what would you call it?
I've been calling it an airstone belt.
All right, let's call it an airstone bell and hope that's what it's called.
Okay.
Let's migrate over to kind of a unique shaped tank, and then we'll spend just a few minutes on it because it's not my favorite. No offense.
It's okay.
Okay, sorry about that transition. But this little tank is nice and round, and it's quite a little challenge to film, although I'm kind of nailing it, if I'm going to be honest.
It needs some maintenance, but...
Gosh, look at that. I'm panning, and it's not important what I'm doing, but I'm pretty impressed with myself. So what are the challenges of doing kind of a jar aquascape like you've done here?
What isn't challenging? I just a couple days ago, I was fighting diatom algae. Plants weren't getting proper growth, and I had a lot of filter on this. This was Knee-High 2213. I was using...
For guys wondering, that's a pretty powerful canister.
It's going to be rated for like a 30 gallon.
Yeah, this is what, 5 gallons?
5 gallons. I'm just having a hard time getting good flow, and I switched it to the Dennerley canister, hanging in the back canister, and my diatoms are clearing up because it's getting the good flow that the E-Heim couldn't do.
And you've got a little tree situation happening there.
The name of the scape is red oak. It's Livigia red mini.
Okay.
And it's growing out of the top. This is a patience project where I have to keep trimming the sides and trimming around here until it starts growing up and has enough of a support structure that it'll grow to be a good 4 or 5 inches out of the tank.
Oh, interesting. So the plan is to have it be a fully flowering plant. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I might like it more once it's fully grown in.
I mean, I'm probably gonna. I think I'm gonna take your advice and I'm gonna pull this out.
Yeah, I think I told Kevin last night. I thought that this kind of ruined the scale of the scape, and I would like to see a smaller plant. I like Monte Carlo. I think Kevin is gonna go with some sort of hairgrass.
Yeah, I'm gonna do hairgrass or Monte Carlo.
Yeah.
Probably Monte Carlo because Monte Carlo can grow pretty well in shade.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, it can hold up in shade pretty well.
Yeah.
And
the ranunculus inhalatus that's in the back is still slowly converting from being immersed growth to submersed. So that's also been a problem because it's a lot of like dead leaves and then new shoots coming up. And this like the previous tank a minute ago. These are all test tanks too. I'm testing soils and fertilizers. So that's also a challenge. I actually stopped using the fertilizer that I was using in this tank because I realized that it had non-chelated iron in it.
Okay. Can you explain what that is? Because
plants,
I don't really even know what that is.
The plants weren't able to access the iron.
Gotcha.
So it was just sitting in the tank, causing algae, causing problems. So that's bad. That's really bad. It was causing algae blooms. It actually corroded the epoxy that it's held together. Had some kind of effect that actually affected the epoxy.
Interesting.
So yeah, I threw that stuff away. And
Cool.
I wrote a long letter.
All right. I think I'm going to move on to a totally different kind of scape. We're going to go into your kitchen,
paludariums?
and we're going to look at a paludarium.
These are all new, by the way. I just rescaped them all.
Yeah, so
yesterday.
Kevin is giving us a sneak preview of some things that he's probably not quite ready to share with the world. So, just a fun reminder, trying to do this every 15 minutes or so. Kevin has a YouTube channel himself. It's called Brooklyn.
Yitch.
Yeah, it's not called Whiskey. It's called Brooklyn Hardscape, and it is a wonderful YouTube channel where Kevin gives maybe 30-second explanations of complex topics. A bit different than what I do, but still totally interesting. So we're just seeing a close-up little bit of this aquarium. This is a paludarium. Bear with me, I'm doing something crazy.
While Alex was sleeping, I was escaping.
Yeah, he was up real late doing a weird scape on this little rock structure. So let's talk about what we're working with here. What do we have here?
Let's see. Where do you want to start?
Let's start with the rock work that people are looking at.
Okay. It was originally 3 different pieces of lace stone that I carved. Like I had to carve the entire, like I guess where's it looking at? Carve all this up here. I carved it out, cemented it to the back piece, and then this piece broke off, so I cemented that.
Did you explain what kind of stone we're looking at?
It's lace stone.
Yeah, you did say that.
Yeah.
I wasn't paying attention.
No, it's okay.
So you mentioned that you carved it out. What do you mean by carved it out?
Hammer and chisel.
So I'm going to go retrieve a prop here. So when you say a hammer and chisel, you literally mean a chisel.
Yeah. That's a good example because that's the chisel that I broke it on. See? You can see that I broke it.
Yeah, so you're actually shaping the stone yourself. You're not happy with what nature provides you or what your shop provides you.
I would like to say that actually the actual stone I scaped, like all the woodwork, everything, it's been around for a couple years. I just kind of let it die, and I'm revitalizing it.
And I don't know if you guys can see this, but there is a waterfall flowing from up here through the moss and down into the water below.
Yeah.
Water that you guys can't see because it's out of frame.
I like the sound.
It's pretty cool. Can you explain what's special about it? I'm just gonna guide you to the answer. I love this.
Oh.
There's a little rock here that's hiding one of the compartments of your filter that you built into your rock system, and it just wonderfully blends in.
The original plan was to just have a water pump. I was going to hide a water pump behind here, and it was going to flow up, and then I have basically a sump that I carved out of the stone and then reinforced it with cement so that literally it's like a mixture of a canister and a sump, and that was the plan. But then I said screw it, and I just hooked a canister filter up to it. So now it's like a secondary filtration. I have some filter media in there, but I probably don't even want to look at it because it's been there for like 2 years.
So to get all of these lovely mosses to grow.
Well, this is actually baby dwarf tears.
Is it really?
Yeah, that's what it looks like immersed.
That's pretty magical. I'm gonna see if I can get you guys nice and close to show that. Sorry, you're gonna go off the slider for a second. If you can see that.
I let it dry out too much, so I'm getting all this death. All this is like I pulled some off last night. Remember we had it sitting for hours out?
I do remember that.
It dried. So I had to pull it off. But
right. So you do have some mosses, but then
I have a lot of mosses. This moss here is a moss that my cousin sent me from Poland.
Interesting.
And like the hair grass, nobody knows what it is. They put it under a microscope. So that's pretty much the primary moss in this area. It's some Polish moss that grows submersed, immersed. It grows in the dark. It'll grow in the bottom of your shoe. It's indestructible.
What have we got here? We've got a couple of little stems of some sort of grass.
This is the same stuff as here. It's the yellow Charis mini.
Yeah, and when he says the same stuff as here, we're looking at a freshly planted substrate with little tufts of hair grass.
Yeah.
And you've also got a bonsai tree growing right here.
In there. Yeah, I got 3 or 4.
How are you keeping those going?
Well, they're Ficus silicoferus. It's a ficus, and yeah, it's they like having their roots wet. So what I did was I punched a hole right about here, but it's like right about there. It goes there, and so the water dribbles out, keeps these roots wet, waters the moss behind it, and because of capillary action, the water actually dribbles along the moss all the way around.
That's
so
amazing.
Actually right here is wet from the dribble that's coming out there.
I can confirm that it's moist.
But yeah, see, like water. I forget what kind of moss this is. This is some rare moss, but my friend Ricky came over one day and just like loaded up with all these different kinds of mosses. It was awesome. They're now battling for survival. Like I have like all these different mosses battling each other.
Cool.
Fight to the death. And then I have a Phoenix bonsai that I'm working on.
And do you have a plan? What is a Phoenix bonsai?
Basically, when you graft a live tree to a dead tree.
Gotcha.
To make a bonsai.
Gotcha.
And these are all cuttings from a larger that I don't have anymore, ficus.
Gotcha. Do you have any plan for the water in this scape, which I'll just point back to?
What do you mean, like dyeing it blue?
I meant, is anything going to live in there, or is this going to just be a tank full of plants?
The pH is really high.
Why is the pH so high?
The laystone brings the pH to about 8.5. So, I mean, I've grown plants, I've done this before. Plants will grow, they'll be happy. It's a lot of, and I'll never have to add GH booster, essentially.
Interesting.
But at the same time, you have to watch them, take care of them. So I got to find a fish that does well. I mean, I couldn't throw the microspores in there.
Right.
Maybe some Dario. I am gonna do CO2. See if I get a chance to fill up the tank.
Cool.
Yeah, maybe some Dario or some of those micro zebra respores that are really shy.
Cool. In the last few minutes, we're going to go on another adventure to see a couple of other types of planted situations that Kevin is putting together that don't have any visible water whatsoever.
Oh, yeah, the waterfall. You have to do the waterfall thing? You don't like that one very much.
I like it, but we've got 5 minutes left
Okay.
before I'm ready to call it a night. So, sorry guys. We'll just do a quick pan past it. It's a pretty cool tank. It's pretty solid. It's got a nice, lovely waterfall. But let's go down the hallway. Oh no, this is too small for my tripod. Oh no, oh no. All right, guys, we are here looking at something a little bit different. Kevin, what are we looking at?
Normally these are my cloches. These are my little mini gardens, indoor gardens. This one is just a grow out. I'm waiting for parts from Biopod. But they're all high humidity, so I'm just going real slow around that, huh?
So what, we're looking at plants that can also grow in aquariums? Are these totally
These are all
land
aquarium plants. Everything in here is an aquarium plant.
Right. And
Well, not this one. This is half aquarium, half terrestrial.
so why do they look so different from aquarium plants?
Well, you know, when an aquarium's growing outside.
Should we turn off the fan? Whatever,
Yeah, the switch is
whatever's
okay.
happening.
Oh, this
Here,
one. Yeah, this fan.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
Well, you know.
So we're looking at these, and what are these plants that I'm seeing here that people might recognize from the aquarium hobby?
This is Luvigia red mini. This is Cameroon moss. This is damned if I know. This is not a aquatic plant. This is a Polypema, I think.
Yeah.
This is AR mini, but it's at the end of its life cycle. You can see the flowers. That's what the AR's flowers look like.
Very cool.
This is Hygro Pintifidelia. This is a type of hair grass. More Hygro right there.
And for people that are watching,
Mini Bulbitis.
these normally have a lid on them.
Yeah.
Right? Can you put that lid on there so that people can see what they normally look like?
Sure.
Because what allows this to work is the high humidity that these
That's Christian's favorite, by the way.
these setups are kept in. So you see that's kind of what they look like on a typical basis. They're a little bit humid, but they're just a really beautiful, different side of the aquarium hobby. We'll let the camera pan quickly to this other one, which I don't know that we talked quite enough about. Oh, it feels wonderful.
Doesn't it feel nice? I know. Everybody's got to touch
This
it.
one right here just feels magical.
That's Monte Carlo, Tweety.
Is it really?
Yeah. I think you just knocked off the flowers.
Yeah, I'm a jerk.
I don't care, whatever.
So, this is just another really cool side of the aquarium hobby that I think we should be giving a little bit more credit to and a little bit more play. Can we move this?
That's heavy.
We can't move that. So there's a lovely setup that you guys won't get to
I'm just
see.
trying to move in the whole shelf almost fell once.
Cool. So just imagine that there's something just truly jaw-dropping and you'll never get to see it.
Actually, I took really good pictures of this one. It's on my Instagram.
Here's an idea. Why don't you make a 30-second video about it on Brooklyn Hardscape, and if people got to the end of this live stream, they can check it out. In a few
Okay,
days.
yeah, I can do that. I'll do
Yeah.
another little...
I think that's a nice compromise.
You like this one a lot, huh?
It is. I really love this thing that no one on the live stream can see.
This one's going to look really good, too, because the Monte Carlo is going to grow up.
Yeah. So, I think with that, we're pretty much at the end of our live stream. Unless anyone has any really specific questions, I'm going to turn the camera back around and we'll see what I look like. Oh, I look okay. Not great, but okay. This is Kevin. If you guys... Okay, I'm going to turn the camera back around now. If you guys have any questions, let me know. And I think in about 30 seconds or so, we'll hop off and bid you guys a wonderful night.
Yeah, you should definitely take some of the Malachis.
I'll take you up on it.
Beautiful.
Before we go, Kevin, where can people find you?
Brooklyn Hardscape. My website is brooklynhardscape.com. Right now, all you can do is book me for installations, but the shop will be coming in the next 3 weeks. And Instagram is my favorite form for communication.
Yeah, and what is your Instagram handle?
Brooklyn Hardscape, one word.
Lovely. All right, guys, I hope you really enjoyed this. If you did, let me know, and maybe we'll do a couple more of these. I go over to people's houses to film their aquariums pretty regularly. If you guys want to see more improvised, yeah, let's butcher that word. If you guys want to see something that's a little bit less polished, let me know. If not, this will be the only time you ever see this. So, be well, everyone. Have a great week. Now, Kevin, how do I turn this off? Sorry, guys, you're going to listen to me struggle.
X.
X. I do want to end it. Goodbye, guys.